All right, my friend, this is Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, and I want to welcome you back to another episode here on the Fit Father Project podcast. In just a moment, you're going to hear a powerful and inspiring conversation between myself and one of our Fit Father program members, Mike Ray. Mike is 46 years young, and last year in 2021, Mike found himself on family vacation. There were some photos taken that the family had, and he absolutely hated how he looked. And that was a little bit of a wake-up call for Mike to see those photos and to realize how far he'd slipped with his health. And it was also a kick in the butt for him to start searching out ways that Mike, as a guy in his 40s, could get back in shape. So he started Googling fitness for men over 40, and he finds the Fit Father Project. He starts with our free workouts. He eventually joins our programs, and he loses 40 pounds in 5 months, starts to pack on some serious muscle, but most importantly, makes some deep internal shifts to regaining his confidence and his vitality, which he uses to run his busy life with his beautiful family and his work that he does in HVAC. So a lot of powerful stuff. Mike's an living example of what you can do in a short period of time when you get your mind very focused. So I think you're going to enjoy this conversation with Mike. It's very fun. We get into some of the specifics of the stuff he did to achieve these great results, and I know you're going to love it. So without further ado, let's get into this conversation today with Fit Father Mike Ray. All right, Mike, welcome officially to the Fit Father Project podcast, my friend. I am so happy to have you here, and I know we're going to have a wonderful conversation. And to kick things off, I would love for you to introduce yourself to all the guys and gals who are listening to this, your name, your age, where you're from, and anything you'd like to share about what you do for work and your family.
Okay. My name is Mike. I'm 46 years old. I've been married for 19 years now to my wife, Catherine. We have 2 boys, Isaiah, he's 25, and Jared is 13. I live in, it's a small city, probably nobody has ever heard of it. It's called Valinda, California. I'm sure nobody even knows where that is. For my work, I do construction. I've done that for about 15 years now. I absolutely love it.
Nice.
Absolutely love my job.
That's cool to hear. And I know, in prep for this, you and I had a little bit of talking and you wrote some things down, how you were sharing that through this process of getting your body physically healthier, it's helped translate to being easier work at your job, or at least having a physical job. I imagine that's an aspect of this journey for you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's funny. And I distinctly remember when I realized how easy of a time I was having at work. I was in a really tight spot where I would normally have to, I would struggle to get out of, or somebody would have to help me get out. And I remember thinking, gosh, how am I going to do this? How am I going to get myself out of here? And I just lifted myself up and got out. It was a really tight spot, and it was amazing that, I amazed myself that I was able to do that.
That's amazing to hear. And
it felt really good.
Yeah. I mean, that's a non-scale victory if there ever was one that we talk about, right? I mean, to feel that capacity that you regained. And what I think is so cool about your story too, is you made some big changes in a quite short time. So what was the time frame when you found us and you started really working, our Apex 10 and the nutrition advice, and how long you've been working the program? How much weight have you lost, and what were some of the body fat changes that you made?
I really started that would have been August when I decided to make a change and look for a program. That was August of 2021. We had been on vacation, and I bought new clothes and stuff like that, because I knew there'd be pictures. And I remember when I saw the pictures, like right from the beginning of vacation, I was like so embarrassed, that I looked the way I did, What
was your weight at that time?
About 192. I believe 192 was the highest I got to. And I remember thinking, well, when it reaches 200, I'll do something about it, But then when I saw those pictures, it really, startled me, And it's funny how the way that you look and the way that you feel might not, you might not make a change because of that. But when you see a picture and you see what others see, that really had an impact on me,
So you started to get serious after seeing those vacation pictures. and
Yeah.
and tell me where you go from there, and kind of take us through the journey of like how much weight you end up losing in the time frame, just like effectively the highlights of the transformation.
Well, that was August. I started almost immediately. I remember just searching for, fitness, health for men. And then I saw something for men over 40. And I thought, you know what, that's probably something I should look at. And I did, and I immediately found, your program. And that's when I really got into it. From there, like I said, that was August. I went to October. I'm sorry. I'm trying to think of the days. I guess I really officially would have said, I think I probably started in October. Actually, I kind of, piddled around, messed around for a little bit, found some things online that I thought, oh, let me try that and see how that, but I never really felt like it was anything worth sticking with, And then, of course, I went back to FFP. I did that all the way up until March, and I ended up losing 40 pounds.
Nice.
So
that's tremendous.
So really, I went August, messed around. Then in October, I really focused, and what was that, 5 months?
Five months and some change to lose the 40 pounds. And how did I know your body fat was something that changed dramatically, like weight loss aside, your body fat decreased pretty substantially as well.
Yeah, it did. And, I didn't really go into this looking to lose necessarily a number as far as weight goes. It was more body fat. That's what was a focus for me, was the body fat. I wasn't worried about if I got to 170 or 140, as long as I got the body fat down. That's what was really important to me.
And how did your body fat change throughout the program?
As far as percentage?
Yeah.
Is that, I would say that I probably was around 25 to 30% when I started. And now I'm probably between 10 and 15.
Yeah.
So it was a huge change.
That's a huge change. And it's very clear. I mean, from seeing your physique in the photos, and like now you basically have abs, pecs, shoulders, especially now you've built some muscle. It's like really cool to see what you went through. What I would say was almost like a little bit skinny fat. I mean, having a belly, to now just being like muscular and lean, it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels so good to just see a physical change like that. Every night when I go to bed and I look in the mirror, I just can't believe that I made such a huge change that I'm not looking the way I did, last August.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's really impressive that you dedicated yourself.
It feels good. It really does feel good. So
I have a question for you. What's been your favorite part about following the Fit Father program and going through this health journey?
I think my favorite part for me is just the confidence that it's given me, the tools that I have, the knowledge that I have. It's just, confidence is something that I've struggled with all my life, and it really has made such a big difference. And I think by far that's the most important part. That means the most to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And like when you were reading through the program materials, whether it's the workout philosophies or some nutrition philosophies, what were a couple things that really stuck out to you as like, that's a big distinction for me, or that's a game changer, or that's something that really makes sense? Were there any like things you learned in terms of strategies that ended up being really impactful for you?
I think consistency, because that's not, I was never an athlete. I never had to do anything like that. I've never done anything like this. So being consistent on what I ate, when I worked out, my sleep, my water, that was a huge thing for me. I mean, that, I've told people, to me, this program is so much more than a physical program. Yeah. It's such a mental program. It changes you, and like I said, for someone like me, who's, I've always dealt with anxiety and confidence and stuff like that. It's just made such a huge change for me, and the consistency. It's just I just can't even put it into words how that part, what it's done for me.
Yeah, I do. I really do understand. And I think it's something that a lot of guys have come onto this show and shared very similar. It's like when you take consistent action and you're able to produce results, that gives you tremendous confidence. And it's also like you're creating personal power. You're like exerting your willpower and your effort in a direction for your own betterment. And like it aligns you in some deep ways that are tough sometimes to put into words. Maybe that's what you're going through. I mean, it's clear that.
Definitely.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
And that's why I think this stuff is like, I like to think of it as, mind, body, spirit all together. Like it all just kind of like coalesces when you start to do the right inputs. Now you mentioned mindset, and I want to ask you, what was your mindset like when you were starting out? And how did you continue to forge and shape a stronger mindset to stay motivated, to get through tough times? Like what was the mental game of this effectively let's just call it a 5-6 month, like very powerful transformation? What are some things you can speak into about the mindset aspect of this for you?
Well, I mean, for me, I've always been, and probably to my detriment, an all or nothing person. I knew that for this program to work, for my mindset, for physically, I would have to be consistent with it. I just had to focus. That's the big thing for me is I had to focus on it and be accountable to myself. And I think that really helped me.
Yeah, for sure. I think the accountable to yourself is like a super powerful thing. I mean, that's like when no one else is watching, this is like your word, your integrity. You're going to show up, even though it's hard, you still show up.
Exactly. And especially for someone who's like me, who's was never an athlete or anything like that. This was completely, so, excuse me, so new to me. So the mindset was a huge part of this.
For sure. And I imagine there's an element of just doing hard things physically. I mean, you have a physically probably demanding job in some aspects that you're doing it, and then going through some tough workouts too. Like, I believe it shapes your mind as much as it shapes your body in some respects. Has that been a part of your experience?
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And as far as like what you were just saying about work, for anybody who has a physical job, I mean, when you get, in better physical conditioning, it is so much easier on your body. I work with guys who I just see in pain all the time, and, they're big guys, and I would just, I couldn't recommend enough that somebody who has any type of physical work, that this is something that they need to do. A program like this is something that they really need to focus on, because it is, I would get home from work and I would be so tired and I just want to, sit down or whatever. But now I don't feel like that all the time. Excuse me, it's made such a difference.
That's really cool. I mean, just the amount of joy you can take in your work the next day. You're not feeling like you're digging a hole with your body's pain and lack of stamina. Like, I mean, I can see how that all like snowballs into a very positive experience. Now, I want to ask you, like, what's it been like with your family, for them watching and seeing you go through this? How's it affected things at home, or maybe even just anything they've shared with you about this journey and them watching you?
Well, I think that I know that they're really proud of me. It's made a difference with the home life. I do things now where before, as far as like home improvements, that's a big thing, working in the yard, playing with my son more, being more physical with him, that's made such a huge difference.
Nice. Nice. And a piece of advice that you would share with a dad looking to make the transformation to a fit father, maybe, advice that would have been advice you could give to a guy like you before you were on that vacation, when you're just maybe in the day-to-day of life. Like what would you share? And maybe it also might be advice for guys who are starting out.
Um, I would say if you're not happy with the way you feel, the way you look, if your family is, they're suffering because of, maybe you don't have the stamina for physical activity, you have to make a change. You have to make a change for yourself. You have to make a change for your family. I mean, health is so important. And I think that a lot of people, like I said, I work with a lot of people who, I can tell health is not a priority for them. I see what they eat. I see what they do. I hear what they do after work. If you're on the fence about doing something like this, just do it. Just do it. You will not regret it. It's kind of like, when I have to go work out and I'm tired or I don't want to get up in the morning, I just go do it. And once it's done, I feel so good. And doing a program like this, you'll feel so good. When you reach your goals, you can feel so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, and you're going to feel so good about yourself. Your family is going to feel they're going to be so proud of you. I can't speak enough about how important something like this is.
Yeah, I can really tell. I mean, now that you've especially reestablished this foundation of health and vitality, you see with your own eyes how much it supports all these different areas. And it's not talk, it's a lived experience now for you. And
exactly.
And I mean, I think that's the kind of stuff that keeps you on track. This is the furthest thing from a diet or a workout kick. This is a foundational shift in your core values, I guess, and your operating system for sticking to those values.
Yeah. And, and one thing I would also say is, I know people struggle with the nutrition part, but it's not a diet. It's changing the way that you eat, the way that you look at food. People say to me, "Oh, can you eat something like that? Are you allowed to eat something like that?" No, I can eat whatever I want. Yeah. I can eat a hamburger right now if I want. It's that I have the knowledge, I have the power to choose what I do.
Yeah.
So it's not a diet. It's not something that, that you have to stick to, the strict rules or anything like that. You just follow these guidelines, and it's not that hard.
Yeah. I mean,
it's really not.
What you shared was like really subtle, but I think very powerful. It's almost like that mindset of the can and cannot. It's like a permission based, is this on the sheet of paper that you must be a slave to, or, or the idea that, I don't know, it kind of seems like how you might treat a very young preschool kid. Like you give them a set of rules, you can
right.
or you can't do this, as opposed to this more mature perspective of these are foundational nutrition principles that when followed will give you more health, energy, and vitality. Here's a way to follow them. Now go out into the dojo and practice making better choices and experiment and see the results.
And that's exactly what it is. And you just have to absorb all this knowledge. And it's not hard. It's not, it's easy to do. It's not, you don't suffer. You're not starving. You're not, whatever the word is, it's not that hard, and I know that a lot of people do struggle with it, and I shouldn't, sugarcoat that because I had such an easy time with it. But it's, if you focus and you put your mind to it, you can do it. Anyone can do it.
Nice. Did you use any of our SuperFuel shakes and stuff like that as a part of your process to make nutrition a little simpler?
I do. I have a shake every day.
Nice. And does that come for, like, just out of curiosity, is that something you have earlier in the day after exercise? When do you slot that in?
I have that after, if it's a day that I work out, I have that afterwards. Nice. If it's not a day that I work out, I do it as soon as I get home from work. I'm very, I eat the same thing for lunch. I eat the same thing for breakfast. I have my shake at the exact same time every day. It's just that's when I do it.
Yeah.
Like I said, unless I work out.
Right. And I mean, that's a principle I think we try to make pretty clear in the program, is you want to balance consistency with variety. And it's a good idea to be regimented early in the day and have your variety for things like dinner. And it sounds like you've kind of fallen into that really good flow of like dialed in breakfast, lunch, post-workout nutrition. Dinner is probably like variable with the family, trying to make healthy stuff, but having the flexibility.
Yeah, and we've always, I've always pretty much eaten healthy. When I was a kid, we never had corn dogs, we never had chicken nuggets or anything like that. We had, raw potatoes to eat or apple peels. That's what we ate when I was a kid. So the nutrition part, that's been pretty easy for me,
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about
So
training. I want to talk about training and muscle building too, because you went through this process of releasing body fat off your body and doing metabolic workouts, and then you switched to using our old school muscle program. And I mean, that's some just classic old school full body lifting focused on getting you stronger at the functional movements. What was your experience like going through old school muscle?
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Like I said, for someone who never has done anything like this, I absolutely loved it. I loved how it made me feel. I loved pushing hard. I loved when I was tired. I loved it all. I thought it was a great program.
Did you make some good progress on strength on some of your main lifts?
Oh, I definitely did. One thing I do is I try not to focus on necessarily the weight as far as the number. I try and focus on the weight as far as the resistance. And, I always hear, you say, your muscles don't know if you're lifting 100 pounds or 200 pounds. They just know resistance. So I always, strive for higher resistance. And I know that, a lot of times I'll do whatever lift it is, whatever. And when I'm done, I always think, God, I could have done more. I could have done more. So next week I'll bump it up, 10 pounds or whatever. And I do that. And I'm like, I could have done more. I could have done more. So that is one part that I still have a hard time with is I don't know I don't know why I just don't give myself a higher amount of weight. Maybe I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to achieve that. I don't know. I still struggle with that though. But the program I absolutely love.
That's great to hear. And I know you do plan on doing another run through OSM. And I think it's going to be a different experience going through it a second time through OSM phase 1, having gone through the 10-week, program beforehand. And now you can do it again with a little more experience with a focus on maybe pushing those weight numbers just a little bit more. It's going to be cool to see. I mean, it's a learning journey for you, right? This is definitely new frontiers.
Yeah. And I have, I finished OSM 1. I took a week off. I did, I went back to the Apex. I did that for 2 weeks. And then I've restarted OSM 1 again.
Nice. So you're in the thick of it.
So that's what I'm doing right now.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you great success on this program. Now
I love it.
I want to transition and just ask you a little bit. We've talked a lot about your fitness journey and the great changes you've made physically, mentally. I'd like to ask a little bit questions about you just as a dad, because I think this is one thing about, Fit Father Project is we're here to empower dads to have better fitness so that they can be the greatest expression of themselves, be there for their family. So what are some things you love about being a dad, or what is a value that you treasure with your family and your kids?
Oh, what do I love about being a dad? I absolutely love being a dad. I've been a dad for a long time. I don't even know how to put into words how much I love it. I value everything. I value seeing my kids grow, seeing my kids achieve things. My oldest, he has a really good job now. That was awesome to see. My youngest, he's a really, really good swimmer.
Nice.
I love going to his swim meets. I mean, just the feeling I get when I see him, and he does so well. And just the feeling I get when I see him do that, it's just such an awesome feeling.
Nice.
I value that more than anything in the world.
I love that. I love to hear that.
I love my kids. I love my kids.
Is there a tradition that your family has, or something that's important to you guys? Like anything like that you guys do every year? Whether it's a gathering, maybe it could be your extended family or a nuclear family. Do you guys have any specific tradition or something that you do that's meaningful?
Well, as far as like with my extended family, the major holidays, I have a pretty big family. We always get together. We love that. We don't always see each other that often throughout the year. It's a funny tradition, but with, my wife and kids on New Year's Day, we always like going hiking. That's something nice. We always like, in Southern California, there's so many trails, especially where I live. There's so many hills, so many things like that. I don't know how it became a tradition for us, but it's just something we love doing.
That's cool. I mean, talk about a beautiful way to start a new year, out in nature together with your family.
Yeah.
I mean,
and it is. It is. We always love doing something on New Year's Day.
Nice.
You know.
I want to ask you, as your kids were in the house, and it sounds like, one of them was obviously out of the house. And what's one value that you really practiced as a family or something in your household? Maybe it's a guiding value for parenting. Was there anything you really prioritized in raising your kids as a value?
One thing, and I'll speak with my youngest, that we really tried to do no matter what was, if we had to tell him no, because we didn't want him to be a spoiled kid. We want him to understand that, you don't get everything in life. Mm-hmm. You have to work for things. You don't just, I mean, I didn't grow up like that. Mm-hmm. I didn't grow up like that, but it was important to me, important to my wife, to make sure that my son knew that, you don't always, we're not yes parents. We're not going to say yes for every single thing. There's disappointment in life. You don't get everything in life. That was very important to us. Mm-hmm. That was very important.
Nice. And I mean, it also seems like foundationally, the very lesson that you just experienced with yourself in this fitness journey is that if you're willing to put in the work and dedicate your mind, you can achieve something. You can create something for yourself. And that's a lot different than the handout mentality. If health were a handout, everyone would have it, but it's unfortunately not. It needs to be created through the will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what, what we wanted to a big focus in my son growing up, that everything's not a handout. You have to work for things. Mm-hmm. I think that was very important. And it really shows for him. Mm-hmm. He knows that. Mm-hmm. He knows that. He understands that. And I think that's so important.
For sure.
Because a lot of kids aren't like that.
Yeah, it's very true.
A lot of parents aren't like that either.
Right.
If I'm very fortunate that my wife and I are on the same page with things like that.
That's great to hear. And I also imagine that your youngest son's pursuit of athletics teaches him a lot of these things as well. I think sports are a great way to learn a lot of these lessons. Working hard, gives return.
Yeah, I think so too. And when he, on a swimming event, if he gets disqualified, he's very disappointed, and you can see it by the look on his face. And when he does, when he's doing well, you can see it on his face. Mm-hmm. And that's very gratifying to see something like that.
Yeah. So, Mike, I want to ask you in closing, where do you see yourself? Like, what do you see yourself now that you have this healthy new body? So let's say you're 46. Let's say you make it to 92. We have another full back half lap of this. Like, where are you at the tail end of this thing? Where do you see your future like right now? What would be like the sunset moments of your life, now starting from this new chapter point of having reclaimed some of your health and vitality?
I always feared that, as when I get old, whatever you say old is, that I wouldn't be able to do things physically. I always worried about that. I don't worry about that anymore. I know now that the way that I feel, I can't imagine going back. Mm-hmm. So I know, at the latter part of my life, I know I'm going to feel like this. Mm-hmm. I may not look like this. I may not be able to lift as much as I, could when I was, 46, mm-hmm. but I think I'll physically feel really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want to struggle with things like that. What a horrible way to end your life.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, I completely agree. I mean, you can almost choose that path from here on out of like the deterioration that most people experience, whereas you are now operating from a footing of vitality. And now it's just a matter of continuing to invest in that and grow in your strength. And I mean, just what you have accomplished in just 5-6 months, I'm excited to see what you're like on your 50th birthday. I mean, 4 more years of getting after this stuff, there's a very good chance you are even stronger, even fitter, greater endurance. I mean, like, and more knowledge and just experience under your belt. Like, that's the promise. Like, we're so far over the hill. And I think, Mike, mm-hmm. you're just a great living example of how quickly you can turn things around. I'm damn proud of you. And I know my whole team is too.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm proud of myself for what I've done. I never thought I would do something like this. Never, the thought never even came to my mind that I would do something like this. And it all started when I saw those pictures, and that shirt that I was wearing in those pictures, I will never get rid of that shirt. Never, because to me that is a symbol of what I will never go back to, and I'll just always hold on to that. It'll always be a memento of mine.
I love that. Definitely something to hold on to and look back on and smile. Yeah. Powerful, Mike. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you. I think there's a lot of other guys that may be wearing that shirt right now that'll listen to this story and hopefully will be in your shoes in a matter of months and time. I want to thank you again for coming on. I want to say God bless you and your family. And
thank you.
And I'm excited for what your future holds, Mike.
I'm excited too. I'm really excited.
Thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon.
No problem. Thank you.